Hello, dear viewers. This is going to be a very special episode, and today we have a guest with us that's just as special. This here is my Superman action figure. I got it as a present when I was a kid, and today it will stay right here by my side as I tell you the story of the creation of Superman. Did you know that April 18 is the day fans use to celebrate the hero? That's because on this day in 1938, the very first number of Action Comics was released, introducing him to the world. For this reason, we will be exploring the rich history of the character and we will see why he remains so iconic to this day. I am Carlos Vinhas, and right now I will be opening for you the portal to Dimension D. Our story begins in Cleveland, Ohio, with two teenagers called Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. They were the sons of Jewish immigrants and met while they were studying in Glenville High School in 1931. Soon, the two friends discovered that they shared an interest in adventure stories and in science fiction pulp magazines. Jerry wrote many articles for his school's newspaper, and Joe was the artist responsible for illustrating Jerry's stories. After graduation, the two decided to work together as comic strip artists. In 1932, they started a mail-order periodical entitled Science Fiction. In the edition of January 1933, they published a story called The Reign of the Superman, which featured a mad bald man with telepathic powers who wanted to dominate the world. The name Superman came from the homonymous concept mentioned by philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra, first published in 1883. Nietzsche described the concept of the Superman as the ideal of a person who overcomes the traditional limitations of culture and societal constraints in order to create their own values and affirm life. Sometime later, the two decided to rethink the concept and make the character a hero instead of a villain. This time, instead of telepathic powers, the character had super strength, based on the stories of Hercules and Samson. He was also made a refugee from another planet and received a secret identity, mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent. Initially, however, no newspaper was interested in Superman. By 1935, Jerry and Joe had found steady work producing stories for National Allied Publishing. The company would eventually change its name to DC Comics due to the title of one of its most famous works, Detective Comics. By 1938, the company was working on an anthology series titled Action Comics. The very first number was released in April 1938, and with it, the world was introduced to the very first story of Superman. This was the beginning of the legendary journey of one of the world's most important superheroes. People were enchanted by the story of young baby Kal-El from planet Krypton, who was put by his parents in a tiny ship so he could be sent to Earth and survive the explosion of their planet. When he gets to Earth, he's discovered by the farmers Joseph and Martha Kent. As he grows, he discovers extraordinary abilities like flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, cold breath, and an invulnerable body. Once he discovers his alien origin, he decides to use these abilities to protect mankind, fighting for truth, justice, and the American way. After his debut in Action Comics #1, Superman started showing up in comic strips. He became the star of his own radio show and of his own comic book. In 1940, he became a balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. Superman fan clubs started showing up all over America, with lots and lots of merchandise based on the character being created. During the later years of the Great Depression, the stories of Superman became adored for bringing hope to a struggling nation. The character was depicted fighting against the Ku Klux Klan and during World War II against the Nazis, becoming an important symbol for American culture. In 1941, the Man of Steel first appeared on movie screens through an acclaimed series of animated short films produced by Fleischer Studios. From 1952 to 1958, the adventures of Superman aired on television, with the character being portrayed by actor George Reeves. Finally, in 1978, Richard Donner directed Superman, counting with the legendary performance of actor Christopher Reeve in the lead role. To this day, this is considered one of the most important and best movies of all time, and it received 3 sequels, with all of them starring Reeve. After this, Superman showed up in many other TV shows, cartoons, and movies. with the most recent being Superman, released in 2025, starring David Corenswet Sweat in the lead role and being directed by James Gunn. Since his creation, Superman met many friends. Some of them work with him in the newspaper Daily Planet, like Lois Lane, the love of his life, Jimmy Olsen, the young photojournalist, and finally, the chief editor of the paper, the bossy but well-meaning Mr. Perry White. Moreover, we cannot forget about two very important allies who also survived the explosion of planet Krypton. Kara Zor-El, the biological cousin of Superman, who eventually becomes known as Supergirl, and Krypto, the Superdog. They both have the same powers as the Man of Steel and already helped him in countless adventures. Besides friends, many enemies have already crossed paths with the Man of Steel. The biggest of all is the genius billionaire Lex Luthor, who hates Superman for being the only being on the planet who makes him feel inferior. We can also cite names like Metallo, Brainiac, General Zod, Bizarro, and a goblin from another dimension who has a very unusual name, Mxyzptlk. M-P-T-Z-L-K. Yeah, I got that one right. In order to finish today's episode, I ask you, dear viewers, what exactly are we looking at here? Superman is a character created in 1938 by two ambitious young men. 88 years later, and we still see millions and millions of fans around the world eagerly wanting to follow his adventures, whether through comic books, television, or film. Personally, I like to believe that the reason for this is because we all have a bit of the Man of Steel in our hearts. Something inherent in the human spirit makes us admire those who fight for freedom, for the values that makes us fair and good, and against the ones who try to oppress such values. We admire those who have the power and the will to fight evil. 88 years ago, Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster, and DC Comics presented the world with a character who makes us all feel special, precisely because through him, we can see how powerful and good humans can be. This is the legacy of Superman, and this is why such legacy will live forever. I am Carlos Vinhas, and I will soon be returning to you with more fantastic stories as we journey together through Dimension D. I'll see you next time.